Hello, welcome to the Network Group podcast. We are in Belfast at the Europa Hotel. It's our October event, Confex. I'm joined today by industry titan Rob Rae. Rob has joined us at Network Group for the first time today, even though he's been involved in Network Group from a long, long way away. Rob is currently with Pax8, and he spent a lot of his career at Datto, both of those organisations being big sponsors of Network Group over the years. Rob, it's great that you've been able to be here with us, and I appreciate your busy schedule. I know you were on the overnight flight over from picking up an award. Tell me a little bit more about that.
The award or the flight?
Yeah, well, both, please. But yeah, mainly the award. I bet you get a lot of flights, but then probably a few awards too.
The flight was just pretty normal. It was pretty normal. No, it was a great honor actually, because Pax8, myself, like we've collected a lot of trophies over the years, for everything that we've been doing for the community and whatnot, and I'm very blessed with the ability to gab. So, my presentations have a tendency to get a lot of attention as well. But this one, the channel company CRN did their first annual gala awards, just recognizing specific individuals as well as organizations. There was only a handful, maybe 8 or 9 awards that were given out, but they did Best Channel Chief of the Year. And I was very blessed to have won it. So I'm very, very happy about it. But, and I'll say it, I as much as I'm usually on stage and I'm the one that kind of everybody's looking at, and it seems like I relish in that. It's actually I kind of get a little bit embarrassed when it's about me, because you think about it like an award like that. Okay, it's not like I can't do what I've done if I didn't have the hundreds of people that kind of got me there, that have worked for me, that I've surrounded myself with, that I've learned from engaging with people like you in the community. It's like, it's all cumulative. So for me, it's like, yay, I'm the best, but it's not really that, right? There's a whole bunch of people that kind of factor in.
And Rob, I've seen you run a number of conferences, both Beyond and DattoCon in the past, and you've always made a point of putting up a slide with a huge number of faces in your team that make those events go. And the events that you've created have been some of the biggest our industry have seen. Great showcases, great community. Network Group is a smaller version, if you like, of that. What did you think of your first time here at Network Group? I've had some great feedback from our members about your speech. Clearly, you're very seasoned professional on stage, and also very informative as well. In fact, we'll talk about that in a minute. Really, the inflection point we're at as the industry changes. But how's your first experience of Network Group?
It's fantastic. I mean, obviously, I get an opportunity to spend some time in Europe. I try to get over as often as I can, and our European business is growing like crazy right now. And then, of course, old friends like you and Austin Clark and all the others that are part of this group. It is something, again, that I've been very active with from a sponsorship perspective for 15 years, I want to say, maybe a little bit less. But again, it always comes up on my schedule. Like, I'm always trying to make it to this actual meeting, because there's nothing better than actually spending time with everybody in the same room in person. And for some reason or another, it just hasn't worked out. It's just taken me a decade to finally get here and do this.
Haven't we? And there's been occasions when you've been in the country, but somewhere else. So it's been great to
but I need to make it a priority, because there's such a fantastic group.
So that means you're going to be with us at some point, hopefully in 2026 too?
Well, stop scheduling your meetings over other meetings, and then we can do that.
Yeah, well, in fact, I think this is partly a problem that you and us created. We've created these events, and everyone thinks it's a great idea, and now there are so many events to go to, it's hard to know which ones to pick. Well, I've got some good news, actually. Next year, our first event is in Bristol, which is where Pax8 headquarters are. So hopefully we can tie that in with you being over there visiting your office, and maybe look at that, 2 events on the trot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you talked when you were on stage about how we've got this transition now with AI coming in, and what an opportunity there is for MSPs to get kind of ahead of it and help their clients use AI to improve business processes and kind of deliver, I guess, a slightly different service. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Pax8 is, we're the largest cloud marketplace in the world for managed service providers. We sell more SaaS than any other organization globally to managed service providers exclusively. Something that we're very, very proud of. we start thinking about, and because we only sell to the managed service provider community, we only work with the managed service provider community. So, for us, our lifeblood is that. And that means that the managed service provider community needs to continue to succeed. And all indications are that, we're all doing incredibly well. And there's only blue skies ahead. Still a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to ignore AI, really hard to ignore AI. And I think that there's a combination of a couple things as to why we're thinking about AI from how can we help our MSP community. And there's a number of advantages I think that we have where we can help our community. First of all, we have an incredibly large community with over 47,000 partners globally. We have an incredibly open and sharing community that loves to share its wins, its losses, what's working, what's not working. I mean, we see this with even your group meetings where everybody just kind of shares to kind of help build each other up. And I can do that on a pretty large scale. And especially as we hit these massive moments for us, these bigger waves that kind of come. I mean, technology is always changing, but this is a significant change in all aspects of our business. It's not just a new tool or a new threat. Like these are transformational, and they're going to be really, really high in demand. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want that revenue from your ultimate end users. That we want to make sure that the MSP continues to stay the square in the center of everything. So for us, we're leaning quite hard into the education part of the managed service provider with AI. By leveraging, again, the strength of that community, the strength of our academy team, the fact that we actually have a pretty robust training and education piece so that we can help MSPs benchmark themselves, find additional training. And it's not just, tools, it's the go-to-market strategy. It's how do I sell it? How do I buy it? We're making big bets that MSPs are going to be builders as well. So you're going to create agents. You're going to customize agents for your end users, for different verticals that you serve within your end users. So, really nobody is talking about this right now. A lot of vendors have a tendency to look more inward and say, okay, so here's what I'm doing with my tech and putting AI into it to try to sell you more stuff. Yeah. But nobody's looking at it. So what's the MSP lens look like? What's that conversation with the end user? What do the end users need to hear right now? What are the opportunities right now? What are the technologies we should be looking at? So it's a combination where we are at our ecosystem is that I have the managed service providers that are figuring this out, and we will figure this out. We're not going to have a choice. We're all going to figure this out, or not, and probably not exist.
I think it's going to be tough for the people that don't figure this out.
There's going to be some fallout. There was with cybersecurity. There was with cloud. There was with all these big moments that have happened. There's been some fallout. There's no doubt, and we're going to have some here. But I still think and incredibly bullish on most of what everybody wants to do because it's relatively exciting at the same time. And the revenue opportunity is there. And I think the maturity level of our community is higher than it's ever been before. But then I've also got the angle of it from the vendor perspective. Because we sit in the marketplace piece of this, traditionally, if you go to your distributor or to your marketplace, if it's Pax8, you look at the vendors that are there, and it's all the well-known vendors that we have, the Microsofts, the SentinelOnes, the Sophos, all of those are there. What we can leverage and what we can do, which nobody else in our space, in that part of our ecosystem there will probably do, is go find new technologies that we should be looking at. So there's a whole crop of new AI technologies that are coming. Ones that are potentially being worked on by MSPs globally somewhere else, but in very small silos. Ones that are tackling the enterprise space and haven't found the SMB or the MSP space yet. This is where we can help. This is where we can bring that technology to our market, the MSP market. We can help them build partner programs. We can help them figure out how to work with MSPs. What is it that an MSP needs from you? How much margin do they need to continue? How much training, education, support, those kinds of things do they need? Because we're kind of the experts in the MSP space and that part of the ecosystem, we also can help facilitate a lot of this and really accelerate that AI path rather than us waiting for the technology to find us.
I think it's really exciting, Rob. If you look at what we've mainly been talking to our clients about over the last few years, it's primarily been security.
Yeah.
And so it's been, scaremongering is probably a strong term, but we've been talking to clients about what bad things might happen. And we've been knowing that some of them have had those bad things, and if they haven't, they know someone who has, or they've read about it in the news. And so, a lot of the new services that we've been talking to clients about have been methods of protecting themselves and defending themselves from those bad things happening, if you like, a cost to maintain business as usual. And with the advent of AI, we've got a real opportunity to talk to clients about very exciting tools that can take away mundane processes for them, that can improve the predictability and the accuracy of repetitive tasks, and can free up their people to do more exciting and interesting work, whilst also giving them a competitive advantage, or actually at the very least keeping them competitive with competitors who are also looking at doing AI. And I've talked to a number of suppliers who are building agents that are going to do common SME tasks that they think MSPs are the route to market to. And I think that probably makes sense. We've got relationships with SMBs who don't know how to implement AI, and if we can get upskilled in it, then I think that's going to give us a real advantage. You guys have got a lot of training. You mentioned it before that you can help us with. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely 100% agree with everything that you're saying there, as far as the MSP being the facilitator of this and the builder of this. And one of the sessions, as an example, and our Academy team put it on in Amsterdam at our European event last week, was training MSPs on how to build agents. That sounds something that, if you've never done it before, looked at it before, have anybody on staff that can do it, it sounds intimidating. But to be honest, AI does make things easier at the same time, because we're also leveraging AI to build AI, to sell AI. I agree with you. I think this is going to create way more opportunity, as opposed to the opposite of us being replaced. I think when AI first started getting introduced, probably a couple of years ago, I think a lot of people immediately turned around and said, well, this is just going to replace what I do.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, it will replace some of the things that we're doing, but it can't replace everything that we're doing, which is why the evolution is important. I always draw the correlation back to the Industrial Revolution. The machines are coming. The machines are replacing humans standing on assembly lines, printing stuff. We have the ability, because we can see this, we have the ability to become the ones, meaning the channel, the MSPs, have the ability to become the ones that are going to sell the machines and service the machines. So rather than panic because they're not just buying raw goods from us anymore, now we're actually going to give them the machines to be able to do it. This is AI. And AI is going to do to white-collar jobs what machines did to blue-collar jobs. And we're in a prime space to do that. So again, from an education standpoint, there's a number of different things. I think, first of all, I think that a lot of MSPs assume everybody else is ahead, and they're not. Like, we're still at a very, very early stage of this. And you see this all the time where vendors have a tendency to create this sense of urgency, because if you don't buy my stuff, you're unsecure, you're unsafe, your customers are going to go somewhere else. And I think we're all kind of dealing with this situation right now, as opposed to being necessarily on different scales. So one of the things that I'm very bullish on, and it's a program that my team actually owns, is called our Guided Growth, which in essence benchmarks you as to where you are in your AI journey. And I will tell you that I've seen some of the results of these Guided Growth surveys, and pretty much everybody's still in kind of early stage. There's only a handful of MSPs that have kind of made that step 2, step 3, where they're actually talking and potentially selling stuff, but it's very, very rare at this particular point. So, I heavily encourage, as step 1, let's get benchmarked. Let's figure out where you need within your organization the most amount of support, whether it's your go-to-market messaging, whether it's the innovation part of it, whether it's you need to learn how to start building, whether it's the staffing part of whatever it is. And then ultimately the technology will follow. We'll find the technology that can do everything that we want to do. And then that leads to customization of training. And we have already over 300 training courses that our Academy does to help support our community. And a lot of that training that we do is at no cost. And that's because we want to see and need to see the MSP space continue to grow in order for us to be able to be and continue to be successful. So, there's a lot of that. And then the industry sharing, the best practices. We created 2 pretty comprehensive reports that I haven't seen anywhere else in this industry. I don't think anybody else has done it yet, which is our agentic inflection point agentic inflection point report, which we launched back in June at our Denver conference. This is the why we should all be looking at this, and it is incredibly comprehensive. And what I encourage MSPs to do is grab that and share it with their teams, just to get their teams thinking, right, of all aspects of your MSP business. Get them thinking about how AI is going to change. And what you'll find is that a lot of the staff will start coming up with ideas. And they'll start coming up with, here's what we should be thinking about, or here's what we need to do. So it's almost prepping your team for the journey that they're about to go on. More recently in Amsterdam last week, we launched the Managed Intelligence Playbook, Managed Intelligence Provider Playbook, excuse me. This is the how, right? It gets a little more granular, a little more tactical, a little more on what is the next step of this, right? And we'll continue to produce assets like that in an effort to help bring MSPs along, right? So we're prepping for the journey now. We're going to start the journey, and we're carving through new ground. And sure, it could go many, many different ways. We don't know, but at least we're having the conversation together as a community, and we want to be that single place where people can find, hey, am I on the right path here, rather than everybody running in different directions trying to figure out what the right path is.
Yeah, it's we had a session earlier today, just before you were on stage actually, and it was a community discussion about how members were getting on with things, and your point about AI, we're all at the start. We had a member talk about how he lost a couple of clients through the clients going bankrupt, and it opened a big discussion about members losing business when their clients are acquired, when people retire, and it was great to hear that community discussion kind of coming together, helping each other out, what strategies people have used to help on that. It's I think sometimes you go to events and everyone says they're doing brilliantly and doing amazingly, and they've got all these AI agents and they're all there with AI, and I think few of us are. It's early days, isn't it? And a lot of MSPs are experimenting with a bit of AI in their business, but beyond reselling a Copilot license or two to clients, they haven't really figured out yet how to do it. And so it's great that we've got organisations like Pax8 supporting our members with strategies on how to do these kind of things. I appreciate
that. It reminds me of a story, true story. It was Nashville, Tennessee. It was 2006. And if you remember, the cloud had been around forever. We just hadn't coined it, the phrase, the cloud. I think it was Microsoft that I first saw call it the cloud. Now all of a sudden everybody needs to be in the cloud, and end users are saying, we got to be in the cloud, right? Like, we're already in the cloud, don't worry. And then, the transformation away from hardware and on-prem into the cloud. And I remember in 2006, which, we didn't get really deep into the cloud and the managed services space probably for a couple of years after that. And it was a gradual growth thing for us. It wasn't a rip and replace. Everything needed to disappear and go to the cloud. And I met a gentleman, an MSP, who had been very successful for a long time doing traditional VAR to MSP type stuff. And he had completely rebranded to Cloud Solution Provider, CSP. And he was going 100% cloud on everything. This is on 06.
Okay.
He stands on stage. And
that was like, there was still 2 versions of Small Business Server to come out after that. So that was really early.
Early days, very early days. But he stood on stage in front of about 800 MSPs from all over the globe and said, I'm a CSP. You need to be a CSP. You got 6 months to do it, or I'm going to take all your clients. And it obviously didn't go over very well at all.
He's the world's biggest MSP now.
No, I haven't seen him again since. That's the key, right? Yeah. Is like, there's going to be some early adopters. There're going to be some everybody wants to be kind of the first out of the gate. But if you're the first out of the gate, you're the one that's running into the woods, not knowing what direction is the right direction, right? So again, like cumulatively, I think there's some urgency here. I don't want to create like a lack of urgency, but there's no panic here either. And you look at just even, from what we were talking about from an AI managed intelligence provider perspective in June to what we were able to do and how much more information we all had in October to do it in Amsterdam, like it has changed a lot just in that very short period of time. But again, if we're all kind of on the journey and not hearing it for the first time, this is where, these changes, these small incremental changes we tend to notice, and then one day, we'll all be in the AI space quite comfortably, as opposed to panic, and I think when you hear those stories or talk to other MSPs and they tell you that they're further down the journey, I think you'll find that they're probably not as much down that journey, because it's also about end user adoption. And there's a lot of end users that are not ready for this either. And then the key is about getting ready for them when they are ready.
Yeah, and I think, I suppose it depends on the size and the maturity of the clients that MSPs work with. But, some of those smaller organizations, they'll have heard of AI, but maybe won't have occurred to them how it can be used in their business. And so actually I think that's probably one of the other challenges for us as an industry is we're used to going and solving technical problems. And we've been really good at helping identify security vulnerabilities and cyber protection we can put in place. But we probably need to upskill a little bit to make sure that we're understanding the business process problems that clients have that we might be able to help them with AI. Because the reality is that most of the benefits for our SMEs from AI, although the bad guys are going to be using AI to try and defeat the cyber we've put in place, the big benefits for small, medium businesses come from AI helping automate processes, improve efficiency, drive consistency, pick up the mundane work that's repetitive and boring, and do it more accurately, do it more quickly. And that's probably, for a lot of our team, that's not the kind of work they're used to doing, and it's probably not the kind of conversations that they're used to having with clients. So I guess we better get ready, we better get understanding more of what our clients' businesses do and what our clients deliver to their clients, rather than just looking at the technology that they've got there and making sure that spam doesn't get through and the remote desktop server isn't open to the internet and all those other things.
That doesn't go away. That's all still there. I think one of the other challenges that we're going to have here, which I think is what creates opportunity, right? When I say challenge, it's not necessarily a negative thing. It just means a little bit of change, a little bit of transformation, but it creates even bigger opportunities for us. Is like, if you want to go hire an AI expert to join your MSP, they're not out there. Like they're few and far between. We dealt with a job shortage situation pre-COVID, where everybody was struggling to find good tech talent. That kind of went away during the pandemic. I think we're going to have this need and want for people that understand AI. And again, this is the opportunity for the people that work within these managed service providers. This is the techs that work there, like just even understanding how to sell it better. Like, this is going to create so much more opportunity, so much more value that these people can contribute. But again, it's going to require learning a new skill, which would be ultimately the AI piece of this. The good news is that there's not a plethora of people that are waiting for jobs to do AI right now, at least not in the managed services space. We don't have that luxury. So we'll be able to create that, and that's going to be a lot more job security and prosperity as a result, in my mind.
It's not often I hear AI and job security at the same time. I think that there's definitely concern that AI is going to take jobs, and certainly we've seen in large organisations. I don't know how much of it you've seen in the States, but there's been a number of big announcements in the UK. Large organisations shedding thousands or even tens of thousands of staff because they've automated and put AI in place to do things that people used to do. I guess with a lot of our small business clients, they can maybe reposition those staff and put them into other areas, hopefully without the loss of lots of people. But we don't want to paint a bleak picture, but the robots may come and take all our jobs.
Yeah, well, change is hard, right? Especially as you get older, we have a tendency to be a little more stubborn and want to just things to continue the way they are and be super comfortable. That's you're not going to survive if you do that, either as a business or as an individual within a business. However, those that do make the transformation, do make the journey, I think it's going to be wildly successful as a result.
Cool. Rob, it's been great to share some time with you. Thank you very much for being part of our podcast. Thanks for watching. This has been Network Group Podcast from our Complex in Belfast. Thank you.